Welcome to Subramani. I have been asked by a few IFAs who are on their own, right? They're practicing on their own and not part of a big team. What are their advantages and disadvantages? First of all, the advantages, there is no handing over to somebody else, right? So if for a sole proprietor who is handling everything himself, maybe he's got one clerical assistant, or he's got one errand boy who runs around. The first message is, I handle your account personally. That's a huge advantage, saying I don't have to talk to 2-3 people. Now, of course, it has its advantages and disadvantages, but as a sole proprietor, if you can outsource everything, right from making a monthly newsletter to your back office, right, all the COO operations can be outsourced today. It is possible. You can actually say this, saying, sir, I will handle your account personally. What advantage it gives you is you really know the client well. You know what are the client's likes and dislikes. You know what are the client's wife's likes and dislikes. You know what are his goals or what are her goals, right? If you're dealing with a client, you know what are his goals, you know what are his wife's goals. You can pick up the phone and speak to the wife and say, look, what he's doing is right, what he's doing is wrong, right? That kind of an intimate relationship is developed by sole proprietors, which is very unlike when you have relationship managers. They don't own the relationship the way the sole proprietor owns. So that is another advantage of knowing intimately what the client wants. Then you talk to the client on a one-to-one basis a lot about everything around everything under the sun. You call him and say, Indian markets seem to be fairly overvalued compared to the US markets because the US companies are available at similar PE to Indian PEs. You can do this kind of a talk. Of course, your relationship manager can also be taught to talk like this, but it is far more difficult to teach everything to a relationship manager, whereas you can do it. You know what worries a client. You suddenly know what the client is thinking about. You know this client has a lot of income in US dollars, so he does not have to worry about the dollar appreciation or dollar depreciation. Anything is fine, right? So he has you have seen market volatility. You then call him and say, I think the US markets and the Indian markets are fairly overvalued. Let us look at other parts of the world market. Let us look at Europe. Let us look at Asia. This kind of a talk, not that every advisor is expected to talk like that, but you can talk about those things. You can tell him that why the US investments are important, because it's going to pay for his daughter's education, daughter who is in 9th standard now, so 5 years from now or 6 years from now, whenever she needs the money, the USG investment could be doing well, right? So you could also share a lot of things personally, which does not really happen with relationship managers, though of course companies do create, saying, oh, this news item is important, let us send it out to clients. Yes, there is somebody at the back end for a big office sending out to clients, but that personal touch may be sometimes missing. You can bring in that personal touch. So same thing for doctors also. I've been talking to doctors, and a lot of doctors who are individual practitioners don't seem to be very comfortable because of the increasing number of hospitals around them, and people are no longer looking for a general practitioner. Though I have a friend who has got a very good GP practice in one of the suburbs of Mumbai, but it's not a very common thing, right? The GP is more or less dead. People go to the specialist directly. Whereas in financial services, that's not really happened. People come to a person who handles their mutual funds, handles their insurance, etc. Right? So you can share things which you have seen. You can share things about volatility in markets. You can share about why you think debt instruments are good, debt instruments are bad, why you should postpone your income and not realize the income, right? So realizing income invites tax, and postponing income means you don't pay tax till for a very long time. Then you can also share with your investor your personal experiences. You met somebody who has a view on the market, like you read an article about Harry Dent, you read a Goldman Sachs report. You can share all those things, or you can share the gist of it, saying, oh, I have this report and I think this is very important, you know what we were talking about. This kind of talk does not really happen with relationship managers. Relationship managers are more in a role of saying, can you do more, can you put more money, can you put more money. It is largely that. It is not so much of relationship building which happens, because you also may not, as a owner, you may not want it also, because if the relationship manager walks away, he walks away with your business. So this kind of personal relationship never gets built with a bank RM. I'm not saying never, but very rarely does it get built. But it gets built very well with the sole proprietor, MFD, RIA, whatever you want to call him. Then it is also possible that you talk to your client on his birthday, you talk to a client on some of his major achievements. He's quit his job, he's started a business, he's stopped his business, he's taken up a job, anything, both ways it happens. So those kind of personal greetings don't really happen because of a relationship manager. It happens only because you know the person individually, you have sought, you've been in business with him. It also means that you can pick up books for him, you can pick up gifts for him. Oh, I was traveling in such and such a place and here is a gift for you. And I think your daughter is a painter, I think she will like this easel or this brush or something like that. This kind of a thing a relationship manager can never do, because he's handling 170, 180 relationships. Whereas even if you're handling 200 clients, you may be talking only to 20 people or 40, 50 people and talking to their family. So that kind of personal touch which you can bring in is something which the other person can't bring in. You may be tracking the health of an investor, you may be tracking his family's health, you can talk about his mother's surgery, you can talk about his father's dementia and how they are handling, and these kind of things. These kind of personal relationships very rarely get built in a big organization, very, very rarely. I mean, it is not impossible, but really rare. Whereas an individual sole proprietor, you can do these kind of things. You can attend each other's personal functions. Maybe you can go for a club dinner, whereas a relationship manager may not be in the same age group, age profile or that kind of a relationship with the client, so he may find it more difficult and embarrassing to take people out for lunch or dinner. Yes, it does happen. It is not that it does not happen. In fact, they may even have bigger budgets. But you have a choice. You can mix clients. You can take two clients who are perhaps in a common business. You can let them meet. You can have an annual gathering of people where you say, we will not talk business. We will only talk about what is happening in the economy, etc. Maybe, but I'll also introduce you. Right? You have a person looking for a house, you have another person who wants to give a house on rent, you can get them to meet. I don't think relationship managers try any of these things. You can run a personal BNI or business network international. You can get all your clients in one place, especially if you think they have common business interests, and if they do business with each other and they make money, it is something for you to feel good about, right? So that kind of a thing. A lot of personal touch can come in because of you. You can pass on messages very clearly saying, look, you are a very important client and I need to do this for you, I've done this for you, that kind of a thing. So chances are the client will remember it. The client may want something more done by you. Client's wife may want something from you. Client's daughter may, I know an IFA or MFD as is now called, who helped the client's daughter do a lot of project work, in the sense that she needed some contacts in the BFSI space and other spaces. He could put in a word, he could collect data, give it to her, and forever that client is going to be grateful to him, right? So many of these small touches which is not possible for a big company to do, a relationship manager to do, you can do as a sole proprietor. And the same thing holds true for a general practicing doctor. What a big hospital cannot deliver can be delivered by a person saying, look, I'm going to handle your case. It's not whatever happens. If you want an X-ray, we will organize everything. I'm not a one-stop shop, but we will have everything organized. This is much better than going and beating around in a big hospital where people get lost, especially older people. So as a sole proprietor, you have some advantages. These are some of the advantages that I could think of. If you are a sole proprietor, please comment on the comments column. I would be very happy to receive your comments, because these are something just instinctively it happened that I was talking to some IFAs recently. It was not a one-to-one session, but it was 1 to 20 people or 20-25 people were there, and they asked what are the disadvantages, what are the advantages. So these are some of the advantages that I could think of, and I'm sure you could think of another 10 other things. So please comment in the comment box some other MFDs, RIAs, IFAs, or practicing doctors or chartered accountants could find it useful. Thank you.